Hey, what's up guys? Welcome back to another Woodbrew video. My name is Dylan.
And I'm Molly.
And if you're new to the channel, Molly and I started a custom woodworking business when we were 20 years old. Actually, our entire last video was about that, and you guys seem to really enjoy it. So today's video, we're gonna be giving you guys 5 tips on how you can get started in business. Some are more specific to woodworking, and the rest are kind of like just foundational tips.
When we were planning out this video, we came up with maybe 30 topics or questions.
Instantly.
So if you want to see anything specific in a future video, like tips and tricks or like topics on like how to start or like anything to do with the business, let us know down in the comments, and then we will plan future videos according to those.
These tips are in no particular order, and if you'd like to see the written version, there is a link in the description below where you can check out an article. But without further ado, let's jump into tip number 1.
Tip number 1 is doing work for almost free when you are starting out.
One of the biggest problems that a lot of people have is getting clients when you first begin, because you don't feel like you have a big enough portfolio to show people, and a lot of times people won't take you seriously unless you actually have work to show for it. So a great way to do that that's not using your own money is to be able to approach somebody and say, look, you say this just straight up like this: I am brand new, I'm starting out a business, I need to build up my portfolio. Would you be interested in us building you X, Y, or Z for just the material cost? And what it does is it allows you to get your foot in the door working with people and get all of that experience as well as building, and you get to do it with someone else's money, and the entire expectation of quality and everything like that is actually dramatically reduced because the person agreeing to that going into it realizes that this is your first thing. And I would suggest approaching big people right off the bat. Like, I don't think that you should wait around to approach like your dream clients or to work with a business owner or a real estate agency. I think you could approach them on day one with the same exact pitch and get your foot in the door with them and show them that you're new, but you're willing to work really hard and you do quality work, and you'll get a lot of residual future business from them.
So what this does is build up your portfolio. It's kind of the same thing when you're just getting out of college and you're getting your first job. They look for experience. So this is what this kind of does. So when you go and approach these people, you can have, a physical cutting board or whatever you want to approach them with, or you can have a picture on your phone. We have an album on both of our phones of all of our work. So we can be like, hey, this is what our work looks like.
Yeah, and a lot of people will tell you that you're undervaluing the entire trade by doing this, but I 100% disagree. I think you're undervaluing yourself in the trade if you don't approach these people saying that you're new, starting out and building a portfolio. If you just undercut everyone on price and just simply do something for cheap, that's entirely different. I don't recommend that. If people are selling cutting boards in your area for $80 and getting it consistently, don't be the guy that comes in selling them for $40 just to get your name out there. That is undercutting your local business and actually devaluing yourself. Personally, I believe you're adding a tremendous value to yourself by approaching especially larger clients like business owners or like a real estate agency that's looking for a large number of cutting boards made for their clients, and telling them straight up, look, I'm brand new to this, I'm trying to start a business and I need to build up my portfolio. I would like to work with you guys hopefully in the future, and I would just like to get my foot in the door and do this just simply for material cost. If you can afford to approach them and do it for free, by all means, do it entirely for free, materials and all. But let's be honest, most people can't afford to do that when they're starting out. And a lot of people will tell you, I've seen this time after time in videos and other suggestions, to just do work entirely for free. I don't recommend that because most people just can't do it.
Yeah.
So approach people, be real with them, tell them your story, why you're getting started, and how you can help them get into their business, and basically just do it for material costs. One great advantage of doing this too is that if you're working with a retail space or someone like a real estate agent, you are getting your work in front of a lot of people on a daily basis, and you're getting basically advertising at your own labor cost. Like, that's it, which you're not gonna get anywhere else. So for us, the way we did this when we started out was that we built stuff for a local coffee shop that probably otherwise couldn't have afforded our normal price, and we would have never gotten our work in there to start with. And we just worked with them on a really reasonable price. We started out by doing it at just material cost and then progressed into charging them a little bit less money, with the whole idea that that was an investment for marketing ourselves. And it has paid dividends over and over and over. It's prime real estate. They have hundreds of people walk in and out of there daily. And when someone walks in and says, wow, that display is really cool, or that those couches are really interesting. Where did you get them? Who built them? They say Woodbrew. And we've gotten literally tens of thousands of dollars of local business through that one single coffee shop by just cutting our labor costs on a handful of projects when we first started.
And the other thing that we did is on those sofas, we did put a sticker on them so people can go ahead and see like who made them, and maybe even recognize our logo from Facebook or something, so they can put two and two together.
And this worked extremely well for us. It got us our biggest client to date, which was Lululemon. We actually built out a pop-up store that came to our town because they had people come into town looking for retail spaces to rent and looking for people to be able to build it out and furnish it for them. They came in to get coffee and they asked, who built your display? That's a really nice display. They found us. We got a DM later that week on Instagram. And just like that, we were working with Lululemon to build out a retail space simply because we invested some of our labor early on when we started.
Tip number 2 is building relationships within your community. Now this comes extremely difficult for me because I am the definition of an introvert, but I think I've gotten better over the past few years, but it's definitely important to be involved within your community and just talk to people, because this is how you get clients.
Yeah, and if you're really good at this already, like, use this to your full advantage. We have a friend who's in like the personal training industry, and he is like, this is his specialty.
Oh yeah.
He's such a good social person. He knows literally everyone, and that's how he gets the majority of his clients. He rarely has to do anything other than just show up to events and do things in the community, which he already enjoys, and he brings in a lot of clients through word of mouth and doing that, just like being a figure within the community. Yeah. Both of us struggle with this a lot. I've gotten a little better at it, and I think that for me, the way I've been able to do it is I've just sort of like put myself in a single community, and that is at the same coffee shop that we built stuff. And I've just kind of committed to working there and building relationships with people there. And typically everyone that like we've done business with has kind of come within that circle some way or another through word of mouth, or by me directly speaking to them or getting introduced to them, or just friends of friends. So like, it's really important, as painful as it is, I know for many of us, trust me, we get it. It's not a fun thing at times. You need to be able to just introduce yourself to people and get to know them. And I think probably the best way to do that is just kind of join a conversation. Mm-hmm. In my experience, that's the way I've been able to do it, is join a conversation when you hear people talking about stuff that interests you.
Yeah.
And try to have a social friend. Like, get a friend who's really good at introducing you to people. That's our friend.
Yeah, and then like the most small talk question is, oh, what do you do? So that is your prime choice or prime spot to say exactly what you do.
Yeah, and you'll find that you'll meet people that are far more successful than you could ever imagine them being, and you'll find that out like after the fact. Like, you just talk to who? Oh, they're the CEO of this, that, and the other. Like, you would be very surprised at how many highly influential people that could give you a lot of business you'll meet just simply by introducing yourself. It's insane. We've gotten a lot of business from it, and it's a skill that you really need to work on, including ourselves.
Yeah. Tip number 3 is don't be afraid to invest in your business. The first couple years when we first started out, I think we spent maybe 80% of our income. We put it right back into our business to build it and keep it growing.
Yeah, one of the big mistakes that I see people make all the time is letting their like personal discretionary spending get in the way of the growth of their business. And when you're starting out, you might not be able to afford to have much of a social life. And I don't want this to be like the 10x mentality guru telling you that you need to like work hard every day, 14 hours. That's not the case, but you will likely have to make cutbacks in your personal spending and life in order to grow your business, because growing a business takes consistency and it takes money. So you need to spend money in order to make money, and you need to start getting a good grasp on where you get good returns on your money. For us, we spend a crazy amount of money on software every year, probably like $2,000 to $3,000 a year, if not more, on software. And that seems ridiculous, but for us, we get a really high return rate on that money. It enables us to speed up a lot of our processes. It keeps us organized, keeps us on routine, and it's a place that we found that we spend like no other. And like, if we find something new we want to try out, we'll just try it out. We don't care to spend money there. And there's other places as well in our business. Like, we've done a lot of like templates and contract work for like very specific things. We will spend money in those places because it frees up time. Yeah,
and if we didn't do that, if we didn't put in the money for that software, we couldn't do half of the things we do today.
Yeah, we couldn't. And this is going to be really more particular in woodworking. Is going to be more about your tools. And when we got started, I mean, I was pretty bad about this, being like super cheap with tools when we got started and not wanting to spend really hardly any money on it, because we were, I don't know, it just felt like every dollar that came in, we were spending 90 cents of it on tools going back out. And you know, it's a tough thing to get your head around, but it's also something that will pay dividends if you can manage your money and be able to invest a large percentage of your income right back into the business. It's going to make you a far more efficient business, and it's going to allow you to grow, because the benefit of owning your own business is that there's not an income ceiling for your business. There shouldn't be. That's the benefit. When you go into a career that climbs a ladder, you have like stepping stones with pretty clear outcomes on your income potential. So don't cap your income as a business owner simply because early on you're terrified of spending money. Just think about it as you're investing in yourself. You're placing a bet on yourself, which to me has to be the safest bet you'll ever place in the world. So
yeah, and then one thing for more of a woodworking business is to buy used tools.
Yeah.
Like, you can find used tools, especially today on Facebook Marketplace. That wasn't a thing when we first started. It was Craigslist. We found a ton of stuff on Craigslist, and also garage sales.
Yeah.
And then if you're looking for technology like a computer, look on Amazon Renewed. It's like you can get refurbished MacBooks. That's where we got his.
Yep.
And we got a really good deal on that.
You can get almost anything through that Amazon Renewed, and like we've gotten cameras through it and all kinds of stuff. And what you need to realize too about all of your purchases within your business is that they're assets and they're not direct expenses the majority of the time. Like, whenever you buy a car, it's always advisable to buy a car that's a few years new, because it's depreciated a good bit of its value, and therefore when you go to resell it, you don't lose much money. The same thing can go for tools as well, and even sometimes buying brand new tools, your actual depreciation is pretty marginal compared to the income that you can bring in with it. So really take into consideration, you know, like, okay, if I invest in this tool and I know that I want to upgrade it like 3 years from now, well, you know what, don't wait like a year or two to buy that tool simply because you don't have enough money to make the exact purchase you want. It may be wise to go ahead and buy a used one, or the one that's not your dream tool now, make money with it, and then sell it, not lose much because the depreciation's pretty low, and then upgrade down the road. Because I guarantee you, you're gonna make a lot more money having what you need than not, and trying to figure out a solution to save money.
Yeah.
You'll end up netting a lot more money in the end if you're willing to take some chance and spend some money and maybe have to cut back on some of your personal discretionary spending. And I guess there should be a little bit of a disclaimer because of what I just said. I do not advise at all any form of debt or anything like that. Like,
Yeah.
I'm not advocating for that. In fact, Molly and I are about 2 months away from paying off all of our debt entirely, which has been, it's been an amazing weight lifted off of us. And although we didn't have much to start with, it's something that if you're getting started, I wouldn't recommend pouring a bunch of money into credit. I wouldn't do that. But
Yard sales,
yeah. So that is tip number three.
Tip number 4 is building self-confidence. Now, this is one area where I've really improved over the last few years. If you were to come to me a few years ago and be like, what do you do? I'd be like, like we make YouTube videos and we build DIY furniture. But now I'm like, we make YouTube videos on a DIY furniture and we also sell plans. So like just having that boost of confidence in yourself will
It'll make everything else easier.
Yeah.
It's a very key, important, like foundational thing in my mind whenever you're starting a business, and something that a lot of people struggle with, including myself. It's something I struggled with a lot growing up too, is, you've gotta have self-confidence. Like if you don't believe in yourself that you can get something done and that your goals are achievable, then you're just gonna quit at the first sign of adversity. Like anything that happens, you're not gonna have the motivation and willpower to get through it, to be able to see what the opportunity is on the other side. And that sounds like some real, self-talk BS from a book guru stuff, but it really is true. Like if you believe that you can actually achieve something, you're far more likely to actually achieve it, because you're gonna experience, especially starting a business, but anything in life, you're gonna experience problems along the way no matter what. You're gonna experience negative comments, negative people, things that don't work out, losing money, doing a lot of stuff that could lead you to not continue doing it. And to be successful at anything, it takes consistency. And consistency takes belief in yourself that the process is gonna work. So building up your self-confidence will go a really, really long way in providing a successful future for yourself. I think this is a lot easier said than done, and it's something that definitely takes a lot of time. So to give you a little bit of backstory, when I was in intermediate school, elementary school, and into middle school, I got picked on a pretty good bit. I had people putting really not great things in my locker and picking on me. And it was, in retrospect, really insignificant things that they were saying and doing that as an adult wouldn't affect me, but as a kid, really did. And I think it contributed a lot to me being more introverted and less likely to want to go in social situations and deal with people. But I will say that as I entered high school, my mindset shifted, and it's something that I think a lot of people have to do, and that is just at some point acknowledge the fact that whatever social anxiety or anything that's getting in the way for your self-confidence, acknowledging it and working on a way to reduce it. Just telling yourself that, there's gonna be awkward moments and there's gonna be times that you don't feel confident about something, but that's okay, and that you're gonna work towards building that up. And mine has slowly but steadily built up to a point to where now I feel extremely confident in professional settings. I still have a decent amount of social anxiety when it comes to small talk and different things like that. But again, it's something I'm working on and something we can all work on to get better at, but it will go a long way in helping you be successful. I want to add this to this section, and that is the idea that you can use your disadvantages in life to your advantage. And Napoleon Hill talks a lot about this in his book, Think and Grow Rich. I highly recommend it. He's going to do a much better job of explaining what I'm about to say. Napoleon Hill's son was a deaf mute, and he refused to let his son just go by the wayside and let society just trample over him because of this disadvantage. What he did was he instilled in his son that he could use this disadvantage to his advantage. The way you do this is you shift your mindset a little bit, and that is that if you have a disadvantage, people are going to pity you if you let that disadvantage define who you are. If you take that disadvantage and break someone's expectations or stereotype of whatever that is, those people no longer are gonna pity you, they're gonna look up to you and be inspired, and they're gonna wanna help you. They're gonna want to make sure that you succeed because you've inspired them. And what you have to do is you can't be offended. I know, oh gosh, I dealt with this a lot when we got started. I was like dramatically under the normal age of people like starting out in woodworking. I'd be on a construction site and not be getting taken seriously just simply because of my age, and people just like kind of pushing me aside in conversation when I was actually just trying to pitch them a job. And what I was able to do was just impress them by bringing a really professional proposal to the table. I brought in a 3D rendering and I did all these things the majority of those guys with 20 plus years of experience weren't doing. And what that did was it shifted this like pity for the kid who's like trying to start his little bitty like custom woodworking business and turned it into, wow, like that's impressive. And the conversation would typically be like, man, I wish I had that much drive as a kid. Like I was too busy partying with friends. And then those people would try and help me even though they were competitors. So what you need to do if you do have a disadvantage and you're feeling weighed down by it and you think that it's really holding you back, try to look for a way that you can turn any sort of pity for yourself or the pity that you feel other people are putting onto you and turn it into them being inspired and impressed by what it is that you have to offer the world and going for that and accepting help if you're offered it along the way because you deserve it. You've broken a barrier that a lot of people don't break.
Tip number 5 and the last tip is investing in yourself. Now I know this kind of correlates with the self-confidence tip, but we feel like this is such a foundational thing to learn, not necessarily in like a business realm, but in your life. Now, a few things that you could do would be, creating a routine or, sorting out finances or keep on educating yourself, stuff like that.
And being healthy.
Yeah.
Being healthy is such an important aspect of life. It's such a driver in success. If you look at pretty much any successful person, you'll see that they have some weird health regimen involved. They're hardly ever unhealthy people because typically you work the way you feel, I should say, or your productiveness is directly related to how your body feels. And if you feel sluggish, if you feel like an unproductive person in your health world, oftentimes it's going to be really difficult to get started and be productive in your work life too. So a big thing, it doesn't have to be crazy. It doesn't have to be like run a marathon or anything, but like do something. Like maybe it's 15 minutes, like say commit to doing 15 minutes of cardio 3 days a week.
Yeah, last year was one of my most productive years, and that was because I was in the gym 3 to 4 times a week and just like exercising just to get, burn off steam as well. But that just helps with your brain. It
helps so much with your brain. It gives you so many good like endorphins and you feel good about completing something. You don't have to be good at it. You don't have to be necessarily getting like dramatically better at it overnight. Just accomplishing a goal, a very small goal, gives you motivation to tackle your really big goals. What you'll find if you aren't currently working out or doing things consistently like that is that if you can manage to go to the gym one time, the next time will be easier to go to the gym. And the third time will be even easier. And every other aspect of your life, I promise you, you're gonna be wanting to do better at it. It's such a weird thing that happens, but you'll wake up and be like, you know what? I worked out last night and it was really great. I'm gonna make my bed today.
Yeah.
You never made your bed, but all of a sudden for some random reason, you feel this like boost of like confidence and ability within yourself to make your bed. And it's such a simple thing.
Yeah, and this also will help you create a routine for yourself.
Yep, it's big in routine. I was training for a half Ironman before the whole pandemic hit, and I was training, I think I was on week like 16 or 17 of a training plan before every one of the races got canceled. but I was training 10 to up to 14 hours a week towards the end of my training block. Like I was training an insane amount, yet I was probably the most productive I've been in a really long time. And that seems crazy because I was having to work out twice a day, once really early in the morning and once at night. And I was exhausted and I was eating like an insane amount of food. But I felt so good about myself and what I was accomplishing and how I was getting closer to my goal that it just drove me to be far more successful. And again, you don't have to do anything crazy like that. Like you may end up building up to something like that.
Right.
I mean, that's what happened to me. I got progressively just more and more into it.
But start off with going for a walk, maybe like every evening or like a few times a week every evening. Just getting out and doing something exercise-wise.
I know this is such a like maybe even touchy subject, and a lot of people just will probably zone this whole part out, but honest to God, one of our biggest tips to people in general is just focus on yourself and be healthier, and you'll be a much happier, more productive person. It really just goes such a long way in your quality of life. The last section of investing in yourself is just continuing to educate yourself. It's so incredibly important. The way I like to do that is through a platform called Skillshare, YouTube, audiobooks, anything along those lines. I like Skillshare just because it's like a really curated, like usually pretty good content and like a lesson format. And I've been using that for a long time. We have a link in the description below if you'd like to get, I think it's 2 free months.
Yeah.
And I used someone's 2 free months years ago, and I just still pay for the platform because I enjoy it.
Not sponsored.
It's not sponsored, but it's a great place to try out and learn something new. Currently, I'm actually learning how to type.
Oh yeah.
Which is funny because, I don't think most people want to tell people they're like learning how to type, but that's the kind of stuff that will make you a much more productive, better human being that's far more successful, is like being humble about the things that you need to improve on. And I really need to improve my typing. I'm like, and I look ridiculous and I'm not super efficient and I just never learned how to properly type. So I am going back to the basics and I'm learning how to type.
But we've also been doing courses on things that we thought we knew.
Yeah.
So, and everything's changing in this world.
Yeah.
So we're just, going back to the basics to learn what we thought we learned, and maybe there'll be something new that we didn't know that will help us out a ton. And
there's always just like that one little tip someone has that just makes it so much better. It just improves your process entirely. The other forum I was talking about is Audible, and again, I signed up for someone's link years ago and continue to listen to books to this day. So again, you can check in the link in the description below, and there's a link where you can get 2 free audiobooks. We get $5 if you sign up to that link, so we appreciate it. But you get 2 free books, which is about a $30 value for like nothing. And the 2 books that I recommend that you get are The Motivation Myth by Jeff Hayden. And that book talks a lot about achieving really big goals. And the way that Jeff recommends that you do this, and a lot of this is based on psychology studies that he went through, is that you set a really high, lofty goal. You forget about that goal and you just focus on a process that you've built to get there. Having those little bitty goals along the way will build you up into actually achieving your big goal, but it won't put you into the position where you're in a comparison trap where you feel like you're so far away from where you want to be. So it's a great, great book. I highly recommend it. The other book is, I mentioned it in this already, is Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill. Those 2 books mesh really well together. You can listen to them back to back. The Motivation Myth's a little bit shorter, so maybe listen to that first. I like to listen to it on my bike when I'm like walking around or running, or even at bedtime, I'll set like a 30-minute sleep timer, and that gives myself like 30 minutes to unwind, and at the end of it, I have to go to bed. It's a great habit. I'm learning something, and you go through audiobooks really, really, really fast when you're doing that.
Even in the car, you can listen to it on your way to work or just driving around.
So Molly and I are gonna put our money where our mouth is, and we're gonna set up a challenge for us and you guys.
So what I'm gonna do is I just want to be able to run a 5K. I'm not gonna put a time limit on it, I just wanna be able to run it. Now, I have only ran maybe 2 miles at one go in my entire life, so this is gonna be a pretty big goal, and also I hate running with like a burning passion, but I want to like to run.
Yeah, I hate running too. It is a horrible thing, but the feeling that you get after running is like no other, and if you haven't experienced it, you should try it. And so I'm gonna challenge myself to run a 5K in under 20 minutes, which is a lofty goal for myself. I'm not even remotely close to being anywhere near that shape. Since the pandemic hit, neither Molly nor I have been working out, and I've gone back down to basically off the couch fitness level. I feel like a slob, to be clear. Like I'm in not great shape, and I'm pretty sure I'm gonna struggle immensely with this challenge, but we challenge you to join us as well. So you can check the link in the description below. All the details will be there, how you can join the challenge. You don't have to run the 5K, you could walk the 5K, you could do anything in between there and world record pace, whatever you want to do. But we just encourage you guys to join a community of people. We can all work together to achieve this relatively simple goal, because we're gonna break it down into a process week by week for 6 weeks, and we can all be more happier, healthier, productive people because of it. So check the link in the description below. I challenge you to sign up. I challenge you to invite a friend to sign up. That's a great way to do it, and we'll all be accountability buddies, and we'll get this thing done.
Yeah. With all that said, this is gonna wrap this video up. We hope you guys enjoyed. Go ahead and like and comment down below on some more video ideas that you wanna see, and we will see you in the next video.
Bye.
Bye.